A nation divided in mourning. We have a feeling based on what we are picking on social media, listening to television discussions, radio discussions, newspaper, and all of this, that perhaps we are where we are today as a nation because the family blamed the government for breaching an initial agreement to repatriate the remains of the 60th Republican president. You recall there was a joint press conference. The family representatives and government representatives, they agreed on terms. They came to the nation and said, we cannot repatriate because the government has breached the initial terms of agreement. So the nation feels we are where we are because of government's failure to stick to the agreement. I need to ask you this question, Honorable Minister. Why would it be very difficult for the government to honor very simple wishes of the family, such as the head of state staying away from attending a state funeral?
Well, thank you for that question. It's a very important question which provides an opportunity for us to put the record straight. Firstly, it has to be had in mind that the person we are talking about is no ordinary person. We are not talking about the late former president Edgar Chagwa Lungu in the stead of a leader of the opposition. That one was a political competitor and not an enemy to the current president and or the current party in government. What we are talking about here is a former president for the Republic of Zambia who, like other former presidents who have passed on, 5 of them in number, as a nation, we have established for ourselves certain traditions, certain norms, certain precedents or practices that over time, having buried 5 presidents, have now assumed in the public interest eye the force of law, that it is reasonably expected that once a former president or indeed a sitting president passes on, they will be given a certain treatment in terms of where they are buried and how they are buried.
That's assuming all things being constant.
That is how we have, that is where we are, because all these former presidents who have passed on, there were circumstances. For instance, the former president, Dr. Kaunda, we had similar circumstances like we do now, where the family came up with a wish list that the former president wanted to be buried at a private property next to his wife, Betty. That is what he had said he would want to see. It culminated into a case in the courts of law, the People versus Secretary to Cabinet, ex parte Kaweche Kaunda, to which the Zambian courts pronounced themselves that in public interest, the former president had to be buried at Embassy Park because public interest in circumstances such as these override individual or family preferences. So the issue we are talking about is quite precedented, but your question is quite direct. Why should President HH not simply yield to stepping aside and allow the state funeral to go? And I think that this argument perhaps has been stretched too far beyond the limits to which it should have extended. This is because when you talk about a state funeral, what does it entail? Who is the head of a state? It is a president, and we only have one president, regardless whether someone likes him or her or not. Secondly, and most profoundly, what we are talking about here is about processes of statecraft and also procedures and protocols that govern functions where the government is involved. Let me conclude, Pastor. Therefore, a simple issue is, if you ask President HH to have nothing to do with that funeral, former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu naturally had friends, like any other president would have friends, in the region and beyond, who are reasonably expected that they would want to come and give a final send-off to one amongst their number as he or they were then. Now, when these heads of state come to Zambia, in terms of government machinery operation, who is going to receive them? Are we going to have a situation where you have 6 heads of state, as an example, who are going to come and attend a funeral service, and the host president is not there because he's unwanted by
I think
by family?
Honorable Minister, you are being very simplistic, because I don't think there is any head of state in the region who is unaware of the unique situation that Zambia finds itself. There's a case in a high court in a foreign jurisdiction. So I do not think that they will come here and oblivious of the obvious. Everyone is aware of what we are talking about. Now, I need for you to address 2 things that you have raised. Number one, I watched the family spokesperson yesterday after the court hearing. He was of a view that you cannot compare President Kaunda's feud with the family, as far as where he will be put to rest, with that of 60th Republican President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, because in one breath, the first Republican president enjoyed the full bouquet of benefits. In the case of President Lungu, he never had any of that. Your government stripped him of his benefits because he had come back into politics. So why would you want to give him the honor that you took away from him? That is the question.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. I think it is actually the inverse, that many people are actually being simplistic about the matter, which is beforehand. Because when you look at, firstly, the colleagues, the politicians in the opposition, and now specifically the Patriotic Front, who seem now to take center stage of this family. And I'm now tempted to begin to think that, yes, this is family, but it's my personal view now and opinion that some politicians have hijacked this process for political gain. Because, have you forgotten, not too long ago, in the same case of the late President, Dr. Kaunda, when he died, and the family were, expressing wishes of burying elsewhere, that they told the nation, with Honorable Given Rubinda as Justice Minister, telling the nation on 6th July 2021, that we as government, them as government, we are going to bury Dr. Kaunda at Embassy Park with or without his family, because Dr. Kaunda was a statesman who had assumed to become the property of the state. Have people forgotten that they are the same people?
But is that the reason why you want to do it? Because because they did it?
That is number one. That we should not easily lose our memory. That as if UPND is trying to do something extraordinarily out of the world. Coming to the issue of benefits, which I have to thank you for bringing to the fore, the late president, I think it was on the 26th of August 2021, after change of government, he wrote to the secretary to cabinet announcing that he had retired from active politics. The question you need to ask is, why did he write that letter? Because as former president, he knew that he could only access benefits of a former president if he had retired from politics to fulfill the legal requirements as provided for by the former President's Benefits Act, Chapter 15 of the laws of Zambia, at Section 4, which provides that where a former president has, retired from active politics, they then are entitled to certain benefits, amongst them transport, security, housing, office space, administrative staff, medical attention, return air ticket once per year to any destination of their choice for holiday. It is a whole paraphernalia. Those entitlements were accordingly given to the former president. And this is not the first time that law is coming into play. When former President Rupia Banda left office, he equally was accorded those entitlements until the day when the MMD announced that Mr. Rupia Banda is the president of the MMD. And Mr. Given Winda was the Minister of Information that time, I think. And he told the nation that because Mr. Rupia Banda has come back to active politics, as government, in line with the law, his entitlements revert. That is what has happened. And you never heard Mr. Rupia Banda go anywhere to complain that his entitlements had been taken, because he knew the law.
Let's go to specifics, Minister.
And let me just wind up just 1 minute, if you allow me, so that I don't lose my mind. And that law, Pastor, is not a new law. That is a law which was enacted in 1993. So, coming to President, President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, on 28th October 2023, he told a cheering PF crowd, and through that the nation, that he had returned to active politics. And active politics has been defined at law, that you are pursuing an elective office. It is
right there, Honorable Minister. I'm not trying to cut you short. I really want us to address the specifics. You have submitted before the Zambian people that Mr. Lungu, and everyone is aware, he returned to politics, so he forfeited. Is that correct?
Correct.
So including everything that has to do with the President's Benefits Act. It was never given to him. Why must it be given to him now? He died having forfeited. So why do you want to restore what you withheld from him? Arab B that you are talking about, he finally went back to being a former head of state. At the time he was dying, his benefits had accrued to him and were given to him. It's equally with Kaunda. Similarly with Chiluba. They enjoyed. Here is a very unique case. The law guaranteed. You acknowledge it in one breath. Why are you not acknowledging the same law that excludes him from state funeral?
Thank you. And in answering your question, is to state that on 3rd November 2023, the Secretary to Cabinet responded to what the late former president had indicated, that he had gone into active politics, by indicating that your benefits in line with the law have reverted. Then, on the 6th of November, former Attorney General Kalaruka, acting now as a lawyer on behalf of the late president, wrote to the Secretary to Cabinet challenging the withdrawal of those entitlements, claiming that they were an affront to the Constitution, but later abandoned taking further action on that particular trajectory. Answering your question is very simple. You have said that why accord him entitlements which were taken out. I will bring you back and refresh your memory that in this discussion I have said the former president has two identities that we must not confuse. One, he is a former president in active politics, for which those entitlements. Two, we are talking about the identity of a former president in death.
Who died in active politics.
He died in active politics, but we are now talking about specifically the question of the death of a former president. Would you argue that he is dead, but can you give him a house if you want to revert the entitlement? Give him a house, give him transport. No. The death part is quite different to the entitlements.
Let me bring you
that
back.
He would have enjoyed while alive. This is former president in death.
Let me bring you back to the argument you raised that there is no state funeral without the head of state presiding over. Did I catch you correct?
Well, there's actually, you can actually have a state funeral without the president being present. And I mean, this is precedented. I'm aiding you. You may not have this information, but this is what it is.
Yeah, because this is a question I wanted to ask you, to say you need to make a clarification so that we don't paint a picture that only when the president is present, that's when it is a state funeral. Because we have had former ministers, they are accorded a state funeral.
Exactly.
And the president is not present, it's
exactly.
it still is a state funeral. And if he's not present, he has his number two who can receive foreign dignitaries. And the question that Zambians are asking, why the insistence it has to be the president, when the nation, the region, and now the world knows the wish that there was a request that the president must not attend because of the bad blood between the two.
First of all, Pastor, in this whole transaction, we must be mindful that we have a country whose integrity we must all endeavor to preserve. And I did not wish to go in this direction, but I will not go further, but to state that when we talk about bad blood, it brings the question of, there's a video which I saw which the president was speaking, I think, a few months ago on the question of victimization of the former president. And the president is asking, who has victimized who? The late President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, in the history of Zambia since 1964, is the only and first former president to leave office and go into death with his presidential immunity intact. No investigation, no attempt to investigate him, zero. You will recall that our colleagues in the opposition pushed so hard, including himself, saying, I know, you just want to lift my immunity. And we would say, in line with what the president had guided, that let's open a new page. We can't make it a habit that each time a president leaves office, what follows? Their next destination is police station, it's court. No. President Edgar Lungu has gone from the time he left office, almost 4 years now. He never received even a single police call out.
Honorable Minister, you are married. I respectfully believe so. You are married and you have children.
Yes.
Is there a difference according to the Bible, and the two shall become one? His wife is ever in court. And guess what? He was always with her. He had the battalion of police to try and grind down his gate at the rented property in Ibex. The wife and children said, what you are investigating came from him. Ask him. How can you differentiate that that was not going after him when he's ever in court with his wife? Where is the difference?
And I would like to answer it in a very simple terms. President HH was in Mukobeko for almost 4 months. Did we have an occasion where his wife began to demonstrate that we are one? So it's me you are victimizing. I also will be staying in Mukobeko. Did you hear anything like that? The answer is no. Because what you are talking about is Christianity, is the Bible. It's not the law. The law deals with individuals. And in terms of Article 98 of the Republican Constitution for Zambia, there is only one person who enjoys immunity from prosecution at law. That is one who has been conferred by the Constitution itself, a president. There is nowhere known to myself, Pastor, where the law says this immunity extends to wife and children and uncles and friends. It is individual, because even when a president goes to swear, have you ever seen a president picks a Bible and the wife also picks a Bible to swear? Why, wife, what are you doing? No, we are one. That's what the Bible says. No, we are dealing here with the law, and the law is blind to who you are married to, whether you are married or you are not. The law deals with an individual. That's why when you read the law, even the penal code, it says any person. It doesn't deal with any couple. Thank you.
Let's go a little further on this. The president called off the period of the extended period of national mourning. I need to qualify that. The president called off the extended period of national mourning, and in his words, he said, we need the nation to return back to normalcy. And he said, we cannot be in an indefinite period of mourning. By your act of suing a grieving family as a government in a foreign court, by implication, you have extended the national mourning, and we cannot return back to normalcy. I can't see the difference, Honorable Minister.
Well, first of all, It has to be understood here that that legal action was taken out by the Attorney General on behalf of the government and the people of Zambia as custodian of public interests. And the question of that suit being in a foreign country or foreign jurisdiction is simple. Because even if you go and take out legal action within the jurisdiction of our country, you go to the High Court or Supreme Court or wherever within Zambia, such a ruling will have no bearing, because the substantive material issue at hand is in a foreign jurisdiction for which Zambia has no authority.
So why did you sue? You have no authority there in South Africa.
We have no authority as a country to take any action there. I mean, to say, okay, let this remains be taken there or there. We don't have that authority because it's in a foreign jurisdiction. So the only avenue available is to take out a legal action within that jurisdiction. And I can bet with you, if you went out there, and I'm sure you are able to see this even just on social media, the former president, people want him buried in his homeland. That is just culturally. That's who we are as a people. And that is why that Embassy Park was created also to preserve a shared heritage of national memory and also to provide national identity of unity as a people, that the people who are here once served as presidents for all Zambians.
Can I pick your mind right there on the issue of public interest? I've really heard you several times speaking about this decision was made in the issue of public interest. And you are saying Embassy Park was created to create that, narrative that this is where we bury our, heads of state. It's almost as if saying State House was built in the public interest, that every serving head of state should stay in State House. We have a president who has totally refused to stay in State House. It's a matter of public interest. No one has sued him, Honorable Minister. So how do you argue the two to be different?
Thank you very much. And I also, under 30 seconds, can take this opportunity to let the nation know that, in fact, the return day for the hearing of that matter in that particular court in South Africa is not 18th, as may have been earlier on announced. It is actually 4th of August. So we have 1 month, about 1 month, 10 days. So the issue you are referring to now about public interests,
which you raised, and I'm just picking your mind on it.
I can answer it simply this way. That matter has not been tested before the courts of law. The matter we are talking about has already been tested before the courts of law, and the courts of law of Zambia have ruled that public interest overrides individual or family interest when it comes to the burial of a former president, because a former president there is a designated place. So there is a precedent.
The standard is the same, public interest. Are we not applying this from a biased point of view?
I'm asking one question to you also. I should ask you one question first. Do you have any authority to point to that the president, where he is staying, is either not in public interest or it is unlawful? Because for us, the issue we are pursuing through the Attorney General, there is a court ruling. Without that court ruling, I'm sure that we may not have taken that direction. And also, importantly here, this matter should be treated with the seriousness it deserves. We have a government with the mandate from the people of Zambia. And in a situation like this, the government must do everything reasonably expected of a serious and reasonable government so to do. Because we have heard, Pastor, already that former President Edgar Lungu will be exhumed and brought back on the 28th of August 2026, when, in their words, a new president is sworn in. Now, what does that tell you, first of all? It tells you that
is that a rumor, or is it?
There was a press conference where the Tonse Alliance spokesperson, and I'm sure you covered it as KBN, Sean Tembo, being franked by Honorable Given Lubinda, said these words just a few days ago. Now, when you come to those issues, you now have to raise above simplicity and say, what is at stake here? There is national unity at stake. And President HH will do everything possible to maintain the unity of this country under the banner One Zambia, One Nation. So there would be no justifiable cause to give to the people of Zambia that under his leadership, he just washed his hands like Pontius Pilate. So they've said they don't want me, or they don't want to bury. Okay, it's okay. That's not how a responsible parent behaves.
Can you tell the nation what did the president mean when he said we need to return back to normalcy? Didn't he think that the family had options to perhaps obey what they perceived to have been the wish of the late? That if the president has cancelled national mourning, it's almost as if saying, go ahead, literally washing their hands. Why would he send the Attorney General to say, I cancelled it, but you go and sue?
Well, I think what the president has done is in offers. What the Attorney General has done is in offers with what the president actually told the nation. Because the president was very crystal clear, very, very sacrosanct and unequivocal in his statement. He said, we've now come to a space where it's not clear when we would finally put former president to rest. In the meantime, the question of national mourning has a telling effect in the nation, including effect on business. Because during national mourning, there has to be a certain conduct. Certain activities cannot be carried on. And I'm sure you have seen that during that period, a number of activities were postponed. American Day, for instance, was postponed. A number of local activities were postponed because of the requirements that during national mourning, certain things cannot, be allowed to happen. So to allow for normalcy in the ordinary and literal sense is to say, let us allow ourselves to run, normally, as we await resolution over this matter amicably. And in his closing statement, which I think you played here, I think I saw it on KBN here, the president said, in the meantime, government doors are open. We await. We are open to further consultation and dialogue with the family. Now, instead of, because look, the president took the first step to extend a hand of friendship towards amicable resolution of this matter. Now, instead of our colleagues also to extend that hand, they said, no, we are going ahead. So, with that in mind, and taking into account the ramifications of allowing a former president to be buried in a foreign country, assuming for the next 15 years or 20, you don't have a president who would be favorable in the eyes of those who think that this HH cannot be present at the funeral. I mean, we'll only bring back ECL when there's a new president. So assuming, as I think myself, that 2026, maybe we do, the chances of continuing with the current president are very high.